Yeah, basically last time I tried doing a metagame Monday, it was like last week. It did not go well because the Series 6 kind of popped up out of nowhere and there was not much to talk about in the metagame either, so I just kind of passed on it last week and the metagame was not actually even formed at that moment. It's not formed yet either, but I'm gonna try my best to cover in my opinion, the most popular teams today. But most of the time, like last week, I expected Series 6 ladder to be up on Showdown like last week so I could get some more testing down, but it did not appear on Showdown yet, so unfortunately that did not happen. And first time we got a ladder is today on in-game, so slow testing as expected on in-game, like if we compare it to Showdown. Oh yeah, up until then we got like Showdown tournaments to test the metagame, and I don't think that's exactly good. But I'm gonna again try my best to try to analyze these teams as better as I can. Also note for later in the video, I'm gonna do Google Slides presentation, and I might update the Google Slides presentation later to reflect on actual metagame, but I'm gonna see how the metagame evolves and I might update the presentation according to that. So that's my idea, and let's just jump straight up into it, right? So today I'm gonna try to cover the Porygon-Z standard team, and it's not gonna be actually standard Porygon-Z. I think, again, it can take many forms right now, but this is my take on Porygon-Z, and I think it's quite efficient. It deals with most of the matchups that Porygon-Z does not deal with normally well. It deals with them pretty well. But let's go in detail with the team. So, Porygon-Z, you might be asking what the moveset does. Hyper Beam, self-explanatory. Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is literally for ghost types in this metagame. There are not too many, but with the boost from Helping Hand and Mark's Darkness and Life Orb, you actually get a one-shot on opponent's Dusclops, which is pretty important because it's one of the Pokemon you can't actually Hyper Beam down. And the discussion between Ice Beam and Thunderbolt is pretty fierce, but myself, I think Thunderbolt is going to be a bit better nowadays in the metagame, since Among Us is going to be one of the most popular Pokemon in the game, in the metagame, and it's got Spore, and preventing spores can be quite important actually. Also, it hits Corviknights for super effective damage, which is going to be one of the more popular Steel types. So I think Thunderbolt is the coverage move of the choice here in the last slot. And of course Protect. You could run Ice Beam instead of Protect, but I wouldn't recommend it. Protect on Porygon-Z can create some annoying scenarios for opponent that you might want to be participant of. You always want to run this spread. You want as much attacking power as possible, and you definitely want max speed to outspeed as many things as possible. There are a lot of slower Pokemon that would otherwise get jump on it. But now you really need to just get the Porygon-Z going with max speed. I'm doing pretty good, guys. I'm going to give my thoughts on whatever you said and commented in the Twitch chat later. I just want to finish up the guide first, so I'm going to give my thoughts on that a little bit later. Clefairy. Again, this moveset is like the only moveset you should run. Follow me away for following away the Porygon-Z and making it immortal. Protect is absolutely excellent on the Clefairy actually, since the idea is that you can protect with Clefairy for extra return of survival for Porygon-Z. You provide Friend Guard of Porygon-Z already, and Porygon-Z only got one weakness, which makes it extremely hard to take down with a Friend Guard boost. This is mostly done against stuff like Duraludon. You can just protect on one to extend your survivability with Clefairy, and it's just very annoying to deal with. Helping Hand is to boost the Porygon-Z's power to incredible levels. From what I know, the Helping Hand boost plus Max Strike from Life for Porygon-Z can actually one-shot 4 HP Lapras. It's not a common Lapras, I'm gonna say, but 4 HP bulkless Lapras just gets one-shotted. It's just ridiculous. And Sing is basically for cheesing the Trick Room matchups. It's actually really efficient at that, because most Trick Room teams got Redirection as lead, and you can just sing them down infinitely, and you just got so many options to just sing them down. Stone Journer, I think it's not horrible. It mostly wants to run Focus Sash and max speed though. Didnt. This is my special take on Porygon-Z team. The Didnt allows you to deal with matchups the Porygon-Z could not deal with before. What I narrow that down to, it's basically dealing with Drellodon a bit better. And some other matchups are dealt with a bit better with Didnt as well. It's Surprise Dynamax. You can like, well, if opponent sees this team, it's probably going to assume he has to counteract the Porygon-Z lead as much as possible, but you instead lead with Didnt, which can throw them off guard like crazy. And it's like really the Stomping Tantrum, Assault Vest, and Helping Hand boost from Clefairy allows you to deal with Didnt in exceptional levels, which otherwise Porygon-Z would just get walled by infinitely, especially if the Drellodon, I mean, leads with Snarl, Arcanine, like Light Screen, Grimmsnarl. You're going to be screwed against that, unless you have Didnt, and Didnt really helps with that. Other than that, you want dual stabs, lower the special attack. It's just kind of brutal. The last move on Didnt can be pretty much anything. Like, I'm gonna talk about it later in the Google Slides presentation as well, but I think Rock Slide could get really nasty against the Sun teams. So if Sun teams get really popular, you might want to run Rock Slide. The two of these slots are like, basically, Porygon-Z in previous metagame in Series 5 liked company of Pokemon that do not care about the rest of the team composition and can be just run without no brain in the backup. Both Scarf Dracovish and Urshifu fill that role pretty much perfectly. They can be slapped on any team and they're gonna work perfectly. And Porygon-Z needs that like crazy because like Porygon-Z and Clefairy are pretty much lead that are extremely dependent on it themselves, and without this combination of the lead, they are not gonna work. If you lead Porygon-Z with something else, it's not gonna work out that well. If you lead Clefairy plus something else other than the Dynamax lead, it's not gonna work very well. So having these Pokemon that can be slapped on the backup, like with no questions whatsoever, is extremely important for this team. The movesets are like crazy normal and standard. Wicked Blow for like great damage, Close Combat for great damage, Sucker Punch for priority. Focus Sash on Urshifu is extremely important, do not take it away. I'm doing pretty good. And the max speed is self-explanatory as well, to win the speed ties of course against other Urshifus, and to actually outspeed other Porygon-Zs if you come into the game a bit later. Dracovish could be Adamant Jolly. I mostly prefer Jolly so we can win some speed ties in late game. And again, the moveset is extremely like whatever. You need Vicious Rant. I think I added some of these moves specifically for Pokemon in the back-end matchups, but I think they really do not. You really are going to use Vicious Rant most of the time. And Talonflame. Talonflame, believe it or not, is extremely important to diversify this lead. I mean, this team. With a Talonflame, you can throw again so many people off guard. People are already prepared for some Porygon-Z plus Clefairy lead. And they're gonna, for example, try to snarl you down with Arcanine, but you lead with Talonflame, you get a Tailman up, and now you outspeed the Arcanine and one-shot it easily. And the team gets really easily overwhelmed after that. Other than that, Talonflame actually fills up important role in dealing with Didnt as well on this team. As you can imagine, this team doesn't have too many good counteractions to Didnt, and actually outspeeding it and one-shotting it is quite important with Flat Blitz. Overheat does something similar. So if you're scared of like Clefairy plus Didnt, you could run Overheat, but again, the Clefairy is probably going to follow me in the way, and the Overheat gets too big after that, so I wouldn't recommend it. Just run Flat Blitz and it's going to work out. Protect is pretty awesome on Talonflame as well, because you prevent Fake Out leads. I've seen a lot of people just attempting to go for Fake Out as a counteraction to Talonflame turn 1, but you just protect against them and opponents are kind of like, oh boy. The Tailman is coming up and I can't stop Porygon-Z anymore. That happened to me multiple times, so I would highly recommend running Protect on Talonflame instead of like supporting me with like Taunt, Will-O-Wisp. I think everything here is just alright. Will-O-Wisp, Taunt are pretty fun. Now into the Google Slides presentation where I talk about the matchups again. This will get outdated later in the metagame, as this is the... Wait a minute. Let's get to the start. Okay. This can get very outdated when the time comes, but basically I tried my best to predict what's going to be popular right now and what's going to be popular in upcoming weeks. I will update this Google Slides presentation later, Basically, I'm gonna link it in the YouTube video down there. And I think the link is, well, it's not gonna expire anytime soon. And if I update any of these slides, they should still get updated and the link should be staying there. So you will be linked to the updated Google Slides presentation in upcoming weeks as well. I will update, for example, Sun matchup, which I didn't talk about here. Yeah, I'm gonna see, like, really, if I'm gonna update the presentation or not. But I think I am going to do exactly that. So basic information, basic stuff. Standard rain against Porygon-Z and Clefairy is, well, it's not a problem with the lead. The Helping Hand plus Max Strike Life Orb should probably just straight up one-shot Kingdra. And if you do that, of course, you're gonna have, like, you think you're fine. But the problem is with the Furthorn in the back, it's going to be kind of difficult to take down. So after you KO the Kingdra with the Helping Hand Max Strike, I would highly recommend immediately targeting down the Furthorn, since if it gets too many iron defenses, the Urshifu will do like 30% with close combat, will get hurt by iron barbs, and then the body press just one-shot it back. So after you KO Kingdra, I would highly recommend targeting down Furthorn, and after that you should be able to somewhat deal with it pretty easily. Like if you do 70% of Furthorn, close combat just finishes it off and you have no problem whatsoever. Although I'm yet to see somewhat full rain teams now. So again, keep in mind, I'm gonna try to update this presentation a bit later after the metagame settles. Oh boy, Porygon-Z mirrors. These are gonna be a lot of fun, but oh well, it's kind of a complicated talk about it without the written down complicated game plan. I've written it down here, so I'm gonna try to just read it my best. I'm gonna try to, yeah, so basically you protect against Porygon-Z Clefairy late, you go for Protect on them, on both of you. You could go for Max Strike against opponent's Porygon-Z, and then like next turn, again, Porygon-Z versus Clefairy versus Porygon-Z versus Clefairy. You one-shot each other's Clefairies, you switch to Urshifu. And then I would like to just recommend you to go for a Max Guard with Porygon-Z, target down opponent's Urshifu when it comes down to it, put it in Sucker Punch range, while opponent's Urshifu probably targets down your Porygon-Z with close combat. And next turn, you should be able to go for Sucker Punch into opponent's Urshifu to finish it off. And your Porygon-Z should be able to finish off opponent's Porygon-Z this way. And you should be able to win. It's kind of hard to imagine in the head, but basically, after you trade Clefairies, Max Guard with your Porygon-Z and try to target down opponent's Urshifu with close combat. And then Sucker Punch it next turn. This is as best as you can go with a Mirrors matchup against Porygon-Z Clefairy. It's Mirrors after all, so speed ties are expected. Against Talonflame Porygon-Z, I would just recommend again going for Protect on Clefairy to protect it for upcoming turns. Talonflame, just one-shot Talonflame, next turn go opponent switches to Urshifu. But the problem is Urshifu actually outspeeds opponent's Porygon-Z. So it will go for close combat before opponent's Max Strike. And then you just go for Max Strike and opponent's Urshifu down the Focus Sash. And again, you come down with your own Urshifu, Sucker Punch their Urshifu, finish it off, and then you should theoretically just win the game by having Focus Sash on Urshifu and somewhat healthy Porygon-Z with it as well. I'm not sure if I'm really not sure if Max Strike actually one-shots opponent's Porygon-Z. It should, but with a Focus Sash on your own Urshifu, you should be able to close this game down. Mirrors are kinda hard to just narrow down by words, so I would highly recommend just reading through this text in a YouTube video, because this is just really complicated. Upper Offense Lapras. I'm not sure what Lapras is going to do in this metagame, but I would think they're gonna stick to their roots from Series 5 and go for Talonflame Tailwind mode. So, again, turn on Protect with Clefairy, Max Strike opponent's Lapras. Next turn go for Helping Hand, KO opponent's Lapras. You should still have Clefairy on the field. Again, Max Strike again, the next target on opponent's team. After it switches in. And yeah, you got Healthy Urshifu, full health Dracovish in the back. They're kinda screwed. Really, the Clefairy volts out the Lapras. And really, the Lapras actually is slower than the Porygon-Z if it gets one Max Strike off. Even if it's Max Speed Lapras and gets Tailwind up via Talonflame, it still is slower than Porygon-Z next turn, so take full advantage of that. Didnt Gothitelle. This is why we have Talonflame, literally why we have Talonflame. If they deal with Durant plus Gothitelle, I would highly recommend going for Max Flare turn 1 into opponent's Durant, and Exeter into opponent's Gothitelle. Exeter should one-shot Gothitelle. If Gothitelle goes for Trick Room, just pray for Exeter to hit to one-shot and one-shot it. If you do that, you're out of a blush and you should be able to win this game without any prediction. If opponent goes for Fake Out into Talonflame, haha, we Dynamax turn 1 and one-shot their Durant anyway, so that's the game plan there. As long as you Dynamax Talonflame, you cannot get flinched by Fake Out from Gothitelle and you should be out of a blush. If you are scared of Torracat switch, and you could theoretically run Special Overheat Talonflame and go for Dynamax and just one-shot it even after Intimidate. That could be a good idea actually, but I think Flare Blitz is enough for now. I've not seen too many Torracats on these teams, but again, I've not seen too many Durant Gothitelle teams since the ladder gone up today, so we're gonna be learning about that later, and I'm gonna update the presentation for later as well. Dual Screens Duraludon, another reason we got Durant on a team. Basically, if opponent leads with Duraludon plus Grimmsnarl, just go for the Helping and Max Quake into the Duraludon, just pump up the bulk to ridiculous levels, and opponent won't be able to deal with you anymore. The Clefairy will take Steel Spike very easily from Duraludon as well next turn. So right, like you opponent cannot really deal with it as long as you got Durant on the team. Again, KO the Duraludon next turn with another Max Quake. Try to sink away the... Oh, no. I recommend going for Follow Me, because Grimmsnarls are commonly seen with Thunder Wave, and possibly redirected to Thunder Wave can be really nice. Also, I'm pretty sure if you go for Helping and Max Quake in the opponent's Arcanine, you're going to be able to one-shot it even Reflect. Life Orb barely doesn't KO, but Helping Hand is a 50% boost, so I think you just one-shot Arcanine if you get Helping Hand. So if opponent leads with Grimmsnarl plus Arcanine, go for Helping Hand Max Quake and just straight up one-shot Arcanine. It should be possible. I'm not sure about that, but it should be possible if I recall the calculations correctly. Sneasel beat up Shenanigans, another reason why you run Durant, since Porygon-Z really doesn't deal with Colossal or the Terrakion too well. Grimmsnarl Arcanine, you just go for Helping and Max Quake turn 1 to just one-shot Arcanine, I think. But even Reflect, you just KO it, because the Helping Hand boost is larger than Life Orb. You could also go for Follow Me, Steel Spike into the Grimmsnarl as well to one-shot it immediately, and then go for Helping and Max Quake next turn to possibly prevent the Thunder Wave, but that's a bit more complicated. I think what I just said last time is just probably the best idea to go up against that. You got Assault Vest as well, so with Friend Guard boost, Assault Vest, and Max Quake boost, you definitely take at least one Heat Wave from Arcanine as well, so you are kinda safe, I'd say. That's the idea against it. Against, Sneasel plus Terrakion, you just with Durant kinda, and they were kinda screwed on late. Yeah, just pun intended. Comfy to it KO on opponent's Sneasel. And Terrakion with Steel Spike. It's pretty easy to go up against Terrakion plus Sneasel. Not too many people expected Durant late, so they're gonna be kinda surprised and just one-shot it immediately. Against Colossal late, I would highly recommend doubling up the Colossal with Max Quake plus Vicious Rend. So if the team with Sneasel got Gastron in the back, the Colossal is just not going to get the speed boost necessary to outspeed Durant, and it's just going to get one-shotted. If Sneasel stays in and the opponent tries to get this, Sneasel outspeeds Durant, gets a Surf up, and then Colossal outspeed Durant. But if you just have Vicious Rend on the standby immediately from turn 1, you're going to be able to outspeed the Sneasel and just one-shot the Colossal as well. So you kinda are going to go for pick your poison play turn 1. I think that's the most efficient way to deal with Sneasel Colossal on this team. Trickery mode, again, something I recommend Durant for. Basically, Durant is going to make your Pokemon a bit more bulky, and I think just go for Helping and plus Max Steel Spike into Amoonguss turn 1 to just one-shot it. And from turn 2 on, you could go for Sing spamming. This is not required to go for Helping Hand plus Max Steel Spike turn 1 to Amoonguss, but you could also go for Sing spam immediately. And just try to put everything to sleep and just try to counteract Amoonguss this way. This is, believe it or not, the standard way for Porygon-Z teams to deal with Trick Room. Just Sing spam with Clefairy. It's not horrible, as I've said before earlier this stream. With Clefairy and opponent setting up Trick Room, you get quite a number of chances to get a Sing off or hit the Sing, so it's not a horrible game plan. But if you're into like reliable game plans, you could go for after you as well on Clefairy to try the underspeed stuff. This could get quite nasty with didnt as well. Didnt is chosen over Porygon-Z because it increases your defenses, unlike Porygon-Z, which just kinda goes for max strikes and lowers opponent's speed. That's not very useful. Go for didnt. It also deals with the Gigalith that I've seen commonly on these hard Trick Room teams, so it's kind of cool bonus. And Repairer as well, so that's the way you want to deal with Trick Room. These are somewhat notes. I'm going to try to update this presentation on later. I suspect Charizard's Sun with Lilligant to actually get popular in a bit, but I do not know the exact composition yet, like what's going to be common. Dragozolt I've seen very commonly as well, so I'm going to try to update on that. Colossal teams are seemingly getting popular with Urshifu as well, from what I've seen on the Showdown tournament, so I think I'm going to update that. Conkeldurr is getting very popular as well, because Rillaboom got banned. Conkeldurr is the bulky Pokemon to have in the back to win late games slowly but surely. Snorlax or old Tempo Swagger are maybe going to get popular, but I'm definitely updating this presentation later with the Charizard, Sun, Dragozolt, and Conkeldurr's good stuffs. Now for the counteractions to this team, one of the most popular counteractions I've said was Duraludon. Really, Duraludon, if you leave it Grimmsnarl, believe it or not, if EV'd correctly, can take Max Strike from Porygon-Z after Light Screen gets an up. With that, you could really stall out of Max Strike turns. So you go for example, Light Screen plus Max Steel Spike in the Clefairy turn 1. Clefairy probably protects, but you go with next turn, and you just kill Clefairy, get a Reflect up now. The Urshifu on of opponent's team doesn't deal with Duraludon too well, because the Duraludon got +2 defense and Reflect, and then he's switching like to your own Urshifu and opponent's kinda screwed. Really, that's the most common game plan. Like, if you really want to just kick the Porygon-Z to the, like, complete bits. I'm trying to not swear on the stream, but you know what I mean. Just run Duraludon plus Urshifu plus Grimmsnarl, and opponent is completely screwed against this. Unless they got didnt, of course, but I've not seen any didnt Porygon-Z teams lately. So I think that's pretty good way to deal with this. Just have Duraludon plus Grimmsnarl and then have something fast in the back, and opponent is kind of screwed. Opponent cannot really knock you out. After Light Screen, Max Strike Life Orb does like 30% to Duraludon as well. It's really helpless. Defined or competitive punishment is another way to deal with the Max Strike boost. So again, if you have Focus Edge Bisharp on a team, you're gonna take at least one Max Strike, and that's extremely important, since if you boost your attack to twice as much, you're gonna be able to one-shot Clefairy, and that's gonna be really annoying for opponent to deal with that afterwards. Really, if you got Dynamax bulky Dynamax next to Bisharp as well, opponent won't be able to one-shot it either, so you're going to be really slowing him down, or her down, with a sweep. Really, just go for Bisharp. If you do not want Dynamax counter, Bisharp is probably your way to deal with it. Oh yeah, and you got like Sucker Punch for Dracovish as well, Sucker Punch to break Focus Session for Urshifu as well, so your bulky Dynamax next to it can finish it off again. You can get quite crafty with this. Milotic is kind of unviable. I think Milotic is not as viable because Helping Hand plus Max Strike just simply one-shots it. Porygon-Z is kind of ridiculous with the damage, so you have to be a bit more careful here. Moderately bulky Dynamax plus Focus Sash. I briefly talked about this on Bisharp just right now, but one of the other ideas to stop Porygon-Z sweep is to just slow it down and don't allow it to happen. So if you go for bulky Dynamax plus Focus Sash turn 1, opponent can't KO any of your opponent immediately. You can also go for example, Protect with the Focus Edge Pokemon tournament to slow it down even more. Give me a second, there is some kind of... Give me 1 second, there is some kind of argument going on with the family right now. Give me a second. Alright, nothing's happening. Okay. Back to the presentation. So basically you want to have Focus Edge plus bulky Dynamax. So we're going to slow down the Dynamax sweep which makes Porygon-Z unviable after that. So, and again, I've said here in the lines, somewhere around here, you want to have some kind of form of speed control to, for example, punish the Porygon-Z even after the minus speed boosts. Ghost types that needs to be KO'd. Good example of that was Dragapult last metagame, but Dusclops is also a great example of that. Basically, what you do is you force the Porygon-Z to one-shot Dusclops turn 1, because opponent has to. If you get a Trick Room up, the Porygon-Z teams doesn't have too many good counteractions except for Sing. So, if you got, for example, Dusclops plus really powerful Dynamax next to it, and the opponent is forced to one-shot the Dusclops, you're gonna get pretty much free turn with your Dynamax next to it you can take advantage of. Dragalge can be a pretty good example of that because it just one-shots Clefairy on one hit. And then it gets special attack boost to get a switch into something like Urshifu again, and Porygon-Z is kind of screwed. You can just get creative with this one. Dusclops needs to be KO'd, and opponent also cannot go for example, Max Strike to slow you down. So fast Pokemon next to Dusclops can get quite annoying again. I don't know, for example, Urshifu Water type can 2-hit KO Clefairy with Surging Strikes, and opponent will have to go for cannot go for Max Strike then one. So you go for like Surging Strikes, then you allow opponent to KO Dusclops, you switch into your own Dynamax, KO the Clefairy, KO the Porygon-Z, and you're kind of golden. That's how you want to get creative with Ghost types. And Max Speed Snarl Arcanine is one of the other ways to deal with it pretty well as well, since it actually just snarls it down, lowers the special attack. It's similar to Grimmstyle with Dual Screens as well, with Light Screen. You're gonna take the attack from... I mean, you're not gonna take Max Strike from Porygon-Z with the Arcanine, but Grimmstyle, for example, can take that. But it's really desperate strategy, honestly. If you really want to have supporter that deals with it, I would recommend Grimmstyle or Max Speed Arcanine with Snarls. You always want to be timid with Arcanine to actually outspeed Porygon-Z. If you got Bulky Dynamax next to it again with the Salt Vest, for example, the Bulky Dynamax will take much more hits than it normally would be, and you would be able to, again, try to capitalize on that. KO Clefairy, switch into Urshifu, again, bread and butter strategy to deal with it. I'm surprised I didn't talk about late game Urshifu here. It's actually a pretty good strategy. But I talked about this many times now. So that's a Google Slides presentation actually. So any questions you want guys to ask? And I'm going to be shifting to the game now, and we're going to be playing some games in game.